I had a whole thing about how a chicken could cause a data breach. So
I remember you wearing the chicken hat.
I did. I wore the chicken hat.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax. HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. My name is David Sims with HIPAA for MSPs and Security First IT. And joining me as always is Donna Grindle of Kardon. Hello, Donna.
Hello. Oh, look, we did that together.
I know. How about that? So you're in the witness protection program. They moved you this week. And so where in the world are you?
I am in Springfield, Missouri.
Okay.
I'm doing a special seminar here. I've been invited to come do a seminar for a group of doctors. So very exciting. And, it'll be a late night, but it'll be fun.
Oh, I'm sure. And then next week, you're going to be back in Georgia, I believe.
Yep. I'm doing Georgia Pediatric Practice Administrators, where we're talking about cybersecurity and cyber insurance and how scary it is just to try to figure out a cybersecurity policy.
That is scary.
It's complicated.
I know.
It's my relationship status with cyber policies. It's complicated.
So, in keeping with the Thursday schedule here,
yeah,
the Thursday after that is the next live HIPAA boot camp.
Bum-ba-da-dum.
So, yeah, super excited about that. Got some new content coming in.
Yeah.
Changing things up a little bit for those that have already been. It's already different.
Yeah. So, actually, we're going to set up a new alumni option because there's, now we've done them for over a year. And so if anybody wants to come back and say, well, I know I was so overwhelmed, I missed most of the second day, just couldn't put any more in my brain.
Yeah,
there's going to be a special alumni rate. So if you've already been to one and you want to come up and come back and brush up your skills, we have a special alumni rate, but we won't talk about that anymore.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Because we can't get in right now.
I know. It's full for this round. And I think we're already about a third of the way full for the next round.
Yeah. So, we've actually turned some people away. There was somebody that sent you a thing. They wanted to add 5 people, and we're like, sorry, we can't. Yeah. We can't do it.
Can't do it this time. But we don't have a date yet for the next one. So maybe we'll have that by the end of this boot camp. We'll have figured that out.
Yeah, that's the way we did this one. We figured out before while we were all together for the last one. So
right,
we got several ideas, where to take this, taking it to the next level. So, but keeping what we think makes it the most valuable training that you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. All righty. So that brings us to our topic for today. But before we get into that, I want to remind everybody, share out today's episode because I know you're going to love it. So go ahead and share it out on social media. Go to our Facebook page, LinkedIn page, all these other pages we have. Review it. Give us a 5-star rating. We won't take anything less than 4. So if you're going to do that, don't need to show up. But give us a 5-star rating. Help other people find us. Believe it or not, there are people who say they are finding us because of the ratings and the reviews and the sharing. And so you're doing your fellow man a great service.
Well, we don't advertise, so that's the only way people can find us.
I know. Yeah. But it's really good.
So word of mouth.
Yes. Which you are very good at.
Yeah. Because we know who does the work, people.
I know. I'm getting so tired too. So that brings us to our episode for today. And we're going to be talking about, guess what? This is October. So we're going to talk about the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And there's a tag out for that called We Are #CyberAware, which comes from the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month campaign, which is through the National Cybersecurity Alliance. How about that?
Oh, that's a lot of talking about cybersecurity.
I know. But Kardon and as well as Security First IT, we're both.
And Help Me with HIPAA.
Yeah, that too. We're all signed up as what they call champions of this, and so we get to publish information about the campaign and all that. So what we're going to do in today's podcast is we're going to review what these campaigns are all about and how you can use these and other things like this to augment your training program or your education program.
Yeah, it's a great way to have somebody just feed you some things to do training. And and it's not everybody sit in a classroom, and there's great ideas and you can use them as part of the campaign, but even more so, you can use them anytime. And that's one of the reasons I really wanted to go through this is being cyber aware is more than just work. Mm-hmm. And the whole program covers all of that. But there's tons of these something month or something week or something day. And they come with all kinds of information that you could then use in your training programs. Use them to send out a blast email or put up some posters or, run a game or something. There is so much information around something as big as National Cybersecurity Awareness Month that some vendors have put out things and, folks like us are doing special, our commitment was to do the social media blast and a special episode talking about it. So use these things like, I grew up on a dairy farm, so June is Dairy Month. It doesn't mean everybody knows June is Dairy Month. But I can assure you, June is Dairy Month. And we used to do a whole lot of stuff like, hey, it's Dairy Month. Did you know it was Dairy Month? But there are reasons that these are in place, and it's to educate and build awareness, which is a cybersecurity awareness program. Exactly what we need to do. So what I thought we would do today is tell you about what the National Cybersecurity Alliance is doing and the things that they have available, along with explaining how they set up the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, NCSAM, we can say. Mm-hmm. I don't know. We'll just go with Awareness Month now. But there's some great tools that they offer above and beyond the Awareness Month, because that's what they're all about, is building awareness and giving you capabilities. So if you go to the National Cybersecurity Alliance, they have multiple websites. So there's Stay Safe Online, Stop, Think, Connect, and Secure My Business. And Cybersecure My Business it explains the concepts behind the National Cybersecurity Framework and how small businesses should use them. So these are all freely available, like Help Me with HIPAA, that only ask for you to share and tell people and rate us. That's all we ask in exchange for very valuable training. Well, this is all, the National Cybersecurity Alliance, by the way, is a partnership. It's a public-private partnership. So there's a lot of different people involved. And that's what kind of makes it really interesting to see, because you're getting the reach and resources of the government, as well as the reach and resources of private business that are building these programs. So Stop, Think, and Connect, David.
Yeah,
stop.
I don't know about stopping, but I do Think and Connect. But I use these resources all the time, because why do I need to go out and create my own set of resources and my own posters and all that when I can just go download them from somebody else and put them up in the workplace?
Well, and they've got some great stuff and we'll put, because they're so spread out where these things are, and a lot of them come in, big zip files with tons of other stuff, and it's a little confusing to find. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take ones that I see are the most valuable and take those PDFs, and we'll put them out in a collection on our website and link to them. So you don't have to go find everything. We're trying to make it a little bit more streamlined, but all of the information is on the websites that I've mentioned, which are also available on the links on the website, on our website. We're linking to those websites. Don't let me confuse them.
Yeah. Well, the program, the Cyber Aware program, the themes are broken out into into 4 different weeks. And so we wanted to kind of dive into each of those 4 weeks and talk about what they cover and kind of give some tips around that. So week number 1 is #CyberAware tips for protecting yourself and your family at home. And these are a list of tips that, we talked recently about that. We had a whole entire podcast on cybersecurity from home and if you had a home office and how all that worked. So week number 1 covers those practices and what you can do about that. So you ready to cover those?
Yeah.
Yet again?
I am. Yeah, but the thing that I find interesting here is it starts with the individual.
It should.
And builds on it.
It should. We talk about that all the time, that it's the people, right?
That's right. It's the people, people.
But, who was it that, it's the guy from I can never remember his name, but the guy from the Catch Me If You Can movie.
Oh, Frank Abagnale.
Frank Abagnale. It's him that said recently, on a video I was watching of him, that every single major breach that's ever happened has always happened because either a person failed to do something they were supposed to do, or a person failed to not do something that they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
So basically, it just boils down to this. It's always a people problem. And no matter how much technology we put in place, we cannot ignore the fact that people are what really secures your business more than anything else.
I can tell you that back in my programming days is when I learned it's the people. Because you would think, and back then you actually tested your code when you did it. Now that
the people who buy it test it.
Yeah, no, it's agile now, but
it's
we
fragile.
would go through quality control and all of this. But the process, I would think I had it all covered, and then the minute somebody else got a hold of it, they would push a button, or as my dad said, mash a button, or so they would just use it in a way that it never occurred to me somebody would use it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't ready and it would fail. And that's exactly what happens with security is people will do something that we didn't anticipate or we didn't know the system would allow them to do that opens things up. And those are the accidental cases. Right. Or they fall for the phishing scams where they were tricked. And
I got a good story about phishing.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to get into phishing. It's down here in just a minute. So let's talk about what they say that people need to do so that they are less susceptible to being part of the problem. Because you're either part of the problem or part of the solution. Amen. There's no middle ground unless you are completely disconnected, and there are so few of those people.
Right. And the other thing, too, to talk about on these campaigns is that don't limit them to just October. You should be doing this all the time. That's why you have a, cybersecurity awareness program in your business. It's not that you're going to do it, 1 month out of the year, but it is better than those people who do 30-minute HIPAA training once a year. Mm-hmm. At least they're doing it 1 month out of the year in cybersecurity. But yeah, do this. Do this all the time with.
And this is meant for all businesses, all individuals, anybody that is connected. This applies. Right. So here we go.
So number 1, lock down your login. You think that'd be the one thing that just you don't have to tell people, but be surprised.
Mm-hmm. That's where
the other thing, right? But at home, and here's where we see a lot of it is that at home people are like, "Well, I'm at my home. I don't need a password." And so they won't put passwords on their things because they're home-based computers or their home office computers. So they don't feel like that, other employees are going to be walking in and possibly sitting down. So they just don't put login passwords on things.
Mm-hmm. And what do you do when you find those, David?
I lock them down. I usually put a password on there and don't tell the people and then wait till they call and go, I can't get into my system.
You're so mean.
No, I don't do that. Right. But no, we have a conversation.
Unless it's your family, then you do
it. Well, when you take tech support calls from your parents,
it's never fun.
You just you know what? You just probably should not have a computer.
Parental controls, man. Parental controls.
I know. But yeah, we have a conversation about why that's necessary. And then, then of course that runs into the whole making sure that you're using a password that is not password or password 123 or whatever crazy mess that people come up with.
Yeah. And it's certainly not something that you use, like, for example, you post about you travel to Springfield, Missouri all the time. And, you post pictures about it and all of this. So using anything remotely associated with the name Springfield, Missouri in your password is not helpful. I mean, think about it. If I can look on social media or if I get your date of birth, and you've already got on your information on LinkedIn that when you went to high school, when you graduated from college, where you went, all of those things, they're all on there. If you're a fan of Georgia football, because why not? And you use Go Dogs or anything like that, that it's easy to tell that's a thing about you. And people think, oh, they're not going to target me. And that is absolutely wrong. So lock down your login. Boom.
I think one of the worst things Microsoft ever did was create the password hint.
I know, because people just put the password in.
I ran across one a few weeks ago, and the password hint was Christmas Eve. It was the password hint. So I was like, okay. Started thinking, tried a couple other things, and then I was finally like, I just did 1224. And it let me right in. I was like, okay, that is not a good password hint. But
yeah, 4-digit number. And you want to bet that's also their PIN for their ATM card.
I know. And, going back to, having good passwords and all that, we had a conversation with a client recently. This week's matter of fact, they had an email that was, hey, we have your username and your password to your email account. It is this, and it had her actual email and her actual password. And it said, we have got into, all your social media accounts. We know all these things you've been doing, including that naughty stuff. They don't get in anything detailed. And then it says, for a small price of $700 in Bitcoins, we can make it all go away. But come to find out, the password, even though it was an accurate password, it was a password that she had used in the past. So it was fairly easy to narrow down that it came from a breach.
Well, yeah, those are the ones that they get them from a breach. Then they craft this email because they know people don't change those passwords, or they see it and they panic. Because anything that makes you panic, you should stop. If an email gives you an emotion, even if it seems like it's from somebody stop. Check it out in detail. Because I remember when those first started coming out, and I'll just say I had friends who were like, look, I'm not going to say I've been to those sites, but I need to make sure that this is not real.
All right. So moving on down the list, we get hung up on these things.
No, really. Now we're in a rabbit hole. I got to pick up the pace, buddy.
So that was 1 out of 100. Now we got to speed up. All right. So the next ones are to back it up. So obviously you want to back your systems up. And if you don't know how to do that, then you can obviously reach out to, whoever your tech person is and talk about that.
Dial a nerd.
Just understand there's a difference between having another copy and having a backup.
Two
very different things. So we won't dive into that since we're kind of...
we have a whole episode on that.
The next one is personal information is like money. You should value it and protect it.
I loved that one.
Yeah, that's...
Treat it because that's what we do. I mean, it's valuable, a sign of value to
the other thing, people don't understand that it's valuable. So how many times have somebody said, nobody wants anything I got. I don't have anything on here anybody wants. How many times do you hear that? All the time. But they don't even know the value of what they have. So
exactly. Yeah, I mean, the computer and their email address alone is super valuable. Yeah. Just having control of them. And people...
If I can have access to your email account, I can just sit there and for months and just watch what's happening. And eventually I'll get enough information on you that I can get anything I need.
Yeah. And they do that.
So the next one is keep your keep your machine clean.
No, it's the AC/DC line.
Keep your motor clean.
Clean machine. There you go. So keep a clean machine.
The bad thing about this is, how do you keep a clean machine? And that would be things like not installing junk on there you don't need, making sure you remove stuff you're not using anymore.
Or reference our spring cleaning episode.
Or you can do that too.
Digital spring cleaning episode. And pay attention to your Wi-Fi router in your home. It is not just like plugging in a toaster, people. And again, we discussed that on the home securing your home network episode. I'm going to have to link to all of our episodes that talk about all this.
Just go back and listen to every one of them.
And then share with care. There's oversharing on social media. There's sharing files that you don't need to share and how you share them. Don't blast them in an email. Use a file sharing service, those kind of things. But learn the right way to share and only share the right things. There's TMI happens everywhere. But they do have some suggestions about how you take action for this week 1, which was the first week of October, which, you know what? I was on the beach. So turn on multi-factor authentication. Yes, we have an episode about that, but you need to do it for your financial sites, your email, and your social media accounts. If you do it for those, you don't have to do it for everything, but you really need to do it for those.
I do it for everything. And yes, it is sometimes very inconvenient, but it is not optional.
Security is not convenient. It is not optional, period. So update your software. Turn on automatic updates to protect your home network and your personal devices. We covered that in patch management discussions. And then, of course, it's participate using CyberAware to include your friends and family in the conversation. And at Stay Safe Online, they've got all kinds of shareable things, little funny jokes and graphics and all kinds of posts. So we do talk about this regularly, including sharing us. How many plugs can we get in about sharing us and encouraging people to listen to us? I don't know. These are all of the things that we're trying to teach people. It's the message we're trying to get out. And it starts with the individual. When the individual learns how important this is, everything else works better. If they become paranoid, it takes a little while to calm them down. But the bottom line is, it's important. I'd rather have them be paranoid than
look, the criminals are sharing, right?
That's what they're doing.
They're always sending it.
They built a business around sharing and selling your information and access to your computers. People don't realize your computer, if you're not taking care of it, it's for sale on the dark web, that people just sell access to your computer and you don't even know it. People are going to buy it for a month. So,
all right, anyway, that rolls into week number 2. And week 2 is pretty interesting because they start talking about the millions of rewarding jobs that are in cybersecurity and educating for a career in that field.
All right, so this one is where you're reaching out to schools and trying to get people, hey, you want to have a second career? Cybersecurity. You want to have a first career? Cybersecurity. There are so many jobs available right now that we can't teach people fast enough. And when I saw some of the statistics that they had in the information for the Awareness Month, the Bureau of Labor Statistics predicts a 28% growth rate for cybersecurity positions between 2016 and 2026. That's 300% higher than the predictions for all other occupations. Wow. All. And Cybersecurity Ventures predicts that there will be 3.5 million job openings in cybersecurity by 2021. That's just, around the corner. And then there was another article that I got that said that, right now, today, we have to worry about the fact that by next year, we're not talking 2025, even 2020. Yeah. In 2019, this article pointed out that there would be 2 million open cybersecurity jobs worldwide. 2 million open jobs. So that doesn't count all the people that are working. So, and the article was really pointing out that this is an impact to national security. That's how important this stuff is. It's about national security because we're trying to fight a cyber war and we don't even have enough people to, create the line of defense. And, I don't know about you, David, but people always, my kid wants to get in computers or what kind of, and I've been telling them for years, cybersecurity, cybersecurity,
absolutely.
cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And you just can't get people's attention enough.
I know. I told this one lady, she got mad at me. She's like, what would you tell my son about going into the computer field? I said, I wouldn't waste your time going to college. Just go into cybersecurity. She's like, what?
Well, you can get a cybersecurity degree.
Oh, yeah, absolutely you can.
They're actually offering cybersecurity degrees now, specific. I have I'm sure it's a Bachelor of Science in Cybersecurity or whatever they call it, but it is a degree in cybersecurity. And I know if I were hitting the field, granted, when I did, we were excited when the mouse was a thing in a different world, but I would definitely get a degree in cybersecurity today, period. And people think that a degree in cybersecurity means you got to be super, super technical. And it doesn't. It means you have to be super, super detailed and be able to work with the technical people. But there's plenty of work that doesn't require technical. There's management work. Go get that degree, I'm telling you.
Yeah, because even within the cybersecurity realm, there's all kind of subset of things, that you can do. Great stuff.
Millions of job openings, millions of jobs already filled, and millions more. And the openings are growing faster than the workforce. It's the only occupation that is at that level. And no matter what, those people have to do their job. Because even if there's a downturn, there's only so much you can do without having cybersecurity professionals available in today's world. Anyway, but that week's message, or it's actually we're in that week right now while we're recording this, is that it's about getting into the schools, teaching the kids, telling the kids about cybersecurity, telling them how important it is, and getting them interested in it. Because hey, that's how they got the smoking message didn't work really well when they were aiming it at the adults, but they started aiming it at the kids who would go home and say, "Why do you smoke?"
Yeah.
And all of a sudden everything started changing. So it's definitely a thing. Yes. But I personally, when I look at it and say, please people pay attention, I don't care who you are or what age you are, you need to be listening is all I'm saying. So they did have, a lot of great ideas about going into schools and getting the message across, going and speaking even at colleges. And, because kids change their degrees constantly. There's the 5th year senior, but they're on their 2nd degree. So, hey, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I guess you just stay a senior, don't you? Once you reach that, I'm a 17th year senior.
Depends on if you're playing sports or not.
No, really. All right. So week number 3.
We preach this all the time.
Yeah. This one's coming out this episode will come out on the Friday of week number 3. So it's in between week 3 and week 4. I couldn't time it better. It would have been better earlier, but hey, you get what you pay for. So week number 3, it's everyone's job to ensure online safety at work.
Yes. Not just the IT person.
Yeah. And everybody's got to work together. We do a whole session on this in the boot camp about it requires everybody.
Yep.
So, and that's part of what we need to teach.
Absolutely.
Again, you're either part of the problem or part of the solution? Which one you want to be?
Depends on what we're doing.
Well, we're going to talk about cybersecurity here, David. I know most of the time you'd rather be part of the problem. So they did have some really interesting stats, and a lot of these we've talked about. That 50-80% of attacks are on small businesses, not big enterprises. We did a whole episode on does size really matter. But the Better Business Bureau had a stat that I had not seen before. And I don't know, have you seen that one, David?
Mm-mm.
You read it then.
The Better Business Bureau found that more than half of small businesses would be unprofitable within a month if they were to lose permanent access to their essential data. So interesting.
Let that sink in for a minute.
Yeah, but it's interesting they changed the wording. Like you always see stuff like they say such and such percent of small businesses go out of business within a certain amount of time. So they kind of changed the wording up. Now they're not saying that you will be out of business, just saying you won't be profitable.
Well, but still, I mean, how many small businesses run at a constant high profit?
Yeah.
They don't. And so you're going to go from wherever you are that's good or breaking even or just a little better or whatever. And think about it. If you're already not making a profit, what it's going to do to you.
Right. Yeah. And that goes back to not only having the cybersecurity stance, which is essential, but also understanding the other elements around it. Like we were talking about earlier for the home stuff is you have to have a proper business continuity solution in place. And that also goes into having business continuity plans and all these other things. And all these things are what we talk about at the boot camp.
Yes, because we're good that way. Well, we're getting a lot of plugs in. But the list of things that they tell you to consider in your securing my business and everybody's job to do online safety follows the NIST cybersecurity framework to a T. It hits every one of them. The identify, protect, detect, respond, recover.
Right.
I love that they call it the identify your digital crown jewels.
Right. Yeah. Because it's valuable.
Mm-hmm. Treat it like it's valuable. People need to realize that. They're so used to it's just a machine. Protect your assets.
I'm glad you drug that out.
So once you know what your valuable crown jewels are, then you need to protect them.
Right.
And then detect an incident.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Being able to detect things. Obviously, you have to have something in place to do that. Not always will you have something pop up on your screen and tell you. We talked in a past podcast about how now some of the hackers and cyber criminals are actually going in to the systems, removing all the other hacking stuff, cleaning up the systems, patching everything, making sure that there's nothing that can, throw up, pop up or anything that would alert IT so that they can stay in that system undetected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're locking out other bad guys and getting them out of the way so that they are clean and undetectable, which is hysterical.
It is
not at the same time. But then we get into the ones that you really, these get you fired up is the having a plan for responding and quickly recover normal operations, which is respond and recover.
Right. Yeah. So having the plan, usually the plan is that I'm going to call IT. And then, of course, from there, for us, it snowballs into a huge mess because quickly recovering normal operations, they're looking at us being in IT. We want this back up in 15 minutes. Well, we got to figure out what's going on first, and if you have a ransomware attack and you're somebody covered by HIPAA, then guess what? It takes a little longer to deal with now.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of places that if they get a ransomware attack, they need to pay more attention. Yeah, HIPAA, you're legally obligated to do it. But if you have some valuable stuff, like you're an attorney and you get hit with it and you want to know if people have been in there moving around. Mm-hmm. So forensics is key, which was our last episode.
Sure enough.
Wow, we are just killing it today, just crushing it. So, and by the way, the last time we talked about the NIST CSF, you're like, you don't have an acronym yet or a phrase yet to help us remember, identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. I have been working on it. And so far, the only one I've come up with that's even remotely fun is ip de ray ray. Or ip de ray rev.
That'd be wreck, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no. Well, I did rev because that way you know that it's recover at the end.
Okay.
Because but ip de ray rev, it's still not working for me. But hey, ip de ray rev. I'm working on it though. I just want to let you know. Ip de ray rev is where I was at, and I got so tickled at myself saying it out loud because I do try that. But I got to come up with one because I just remember them and other people not. So I'm working on one. There's nothing as good as cremate. So
yeah,
off we go.
Anyway, yeah. Well, continue to work on that. It needs a little more polishing, but it's certainly memorable.
Yep, DeRay Rev. Okay,
you could just do DeRay Ray.
DeRay Ray. Then you don't know respond and recover. You can't remember what order they go in.
Yeah.
People get
then there's that.
Yeah. So, but they do have some great stuff. And one of the things they have is the Cybersecurity Awareness Toolkit that is for business. And just as a side note here, right on, to me, there was a lot of irony. The cover page says, created for small and medium-sized business by the National Cybersecurity Alliance, Facebook, and MediaPro.
Huh. Yeah.
I'm not saying, but is the book.
I mean, yeah.
Trying to get some goodwill.
Yeah. The Book of Faces, they do everything right when it comes to security.
There's a little irony in there, just as a side note. But
well, nowadays you can pick anybody because even Google's now in the mix.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, everybody's in there. It's something. But at least not as...
not as bad, yeah.
you hear Facebook problems practically at least once a month. So, and we all know that they're not even hitting on what some of them are. But there is a lot of good information in that toolkit, and we'll make a link to it in here. It's got this, again, irony aside, Facebook section was about having a Hacktober where you get people to, work on finding problems and being creative and all that. I don't know how helpful that is in most environments that we work with. So I kind of skipped that. Irony aside. But what I really liked is they had this whole section that they called Quick Wins. So small business cybersecurity quick wins. And I'm like, I don't know. But when I started reading through them, and there's a bunch of them, I thought, these are awesome. So I pulled my top ones, my favorite ones. And there's, 3 of them. And again, it's all things two of them we've already discussed, but it gives you a little check. So there's quick wins for file sharing. And I love the little sub. Sharing is caring only when done securely. But, it has tips on it, like restrict the locations where sensitive information can be saved or copied. Use application-level encryption to protect data. Use file naming conventions that don't disclose the type of information in the file. When you...
Yeah, that's the thing.
I don't get it. If the file name is latest cash flow statement in October 2018, I'm going to find that way more interesting than latest discussions with Randy.
Or my passwords.
Oh my God. Yeah. Password list. Those are always good. And then, it's a spreadsheet that they are emailing back and forth. It's never good when that happens. But it also says, in many things down here, free services do not provide the legal protection appropriate for securing sensitive information.
No.
I know. Another quick win that I really like is quick wins for routers. Your home or business network is not too small to be hacked. Boom. Change the manufacturer's default admin password to a unique, strong passphrase. And California just passed a new law that says if a device is made in that state, it cannot have a default password that never, you have to have a unique default password attached to every single device, which will make things harder for us as tech people, but it really will make things better for the average individual.
Mm-hmm.
So log out after configuring. Keep firmware update. I'm just saying, there's several really good. And then we get to my favorite, quick wins for third-party vendors. This is not just about healthcare, but they say do your due diligence, get it in writing, and monitor compliance. It's what you should do with third-party vendors. So spell out your privacy and security expectations in clear, user-friendly language to service providers. Understand how their services work and what you're giving them access. Build in procedures to monitor them. Review your promises, your privacy promises from the perspective of those service providers. And it is spot on exactly what we say you should do with business associates. And this is talking about people that aren't required to have business associates.
Mm-hmm.
So, I love that one. Especially when you give it to a business associate and say, well, we don't have to answer this for other people.
Yeah.
Get used to it, people.
And so that brings us down to the last week of it, which is week number 4, safeguarding the nation's critical infrastructure.
Hello.
That doesn't apply to me.
Wait, what?
Yeah. How many people really know that their business or even them personally, they're tied to the nation's critical infrastructure? Obviously, if you're in healthcare, you are.
Yeah. You have no idea how you're tied to critical infrastructure. And it could be, that 6 degrees of separation.
Mm-hmm.
It matters. It matters. And we all know how weird it is when you sit down and really work it out. The 6 degrees of separation. But it's terrifying that so many people don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, okay, let's say I run a heat and air company.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David
thermostat
Sims.
units
The
that
show
have an
created
IP
to help
address.
you
They're on the
with
internet,
HIPAA.
and I put them in.
For more information
hospital
or to ask us a question,
and I don't
visit
care
our
anything
website
about,
at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither
lock
Donna
down my
Grindle or
logins
David
to the-
Sims are attorneys,
Well, guess
and they
what?
do not offer binding legal advice
those heating
concerning
systems
regulatory
go into
compliance.
a surgery
The information in this podcast
Yeah.
should not be
Jack the
relied
heat
upon
way
or
up
construed as
so
legal
that,
advice in any way. Consult your attorney
if
for
you
legal
run the
advice
temperature
concerning
way up during a
compliance with
surgery.
HIPAA
Those
regulations.
rooms are cold for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Or you take a room where, there's a lot of hot machines and you turn off the cooling systems.
Yeah.
There's so much.
Or for that matter, you have a fish tank.
Oh, yeah. We did that, didn't we? We talked about how can fish cause a data breach, know?
I know.
Back when ICD-10, I had a whole thing about how a chicken could cause a data breach. So
I remember you wearing the chicken hat.
I did. I wore the chicken hat. Hey, it worked. It got people's attention. That and those tiny little rubber chickens that I shot across the room. But the point there was you'll get so caught up in something else that, you see an ICD code plucked by a chicken, which there is an ICD code plucked by a chicken. You see that and you get so caught up in whatever that is that you don't pay attention to something else you're supposed to do, which goes back to the Abagnale mention.
Mm-hmm.
So there you have it. But yeah, that's what they're saying. But most people just don't get it. We all assume the power grid. I mean, right now, I'm worried about all of my clients that were in the path of that hurricane. I got family, friends, clients that were affected by that. I mean, think about it. It went through from, the panhandle right across the middle of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really devastated. And the reports I'm getting from some of my clients, I'm very, very worried about them. We're talking about buildings that are just gone and roofs collapsing and those kind of things. And, some of them I just started working with and I'm just terrified for them. So, these things matter. And the power grid, I've been out of power for 5 days. Have you?
Oh, yeah.
See, people, imagine being out of power for 5 days. Imagine being out of power for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
How can your business continuity plan adjust for that? In the winter, it's too cold to stay there. In the summer, it's too hot. So, gotta have a plan. At least where I'm from. Maybe somewhere else, not so much. But they can go after a small part of the networks to get to the bigger parts. And that's what people don't get. Oh, and I did have this thought yesterday as I'm driving from, I know I'm in the Midwest when I'm leaving the airport. And literally, I love going into smaller airports, being an Atlanta person, you're used to the giant things. The rental car place was literally right next to, not like nearby. I stood at the rental car place, got my keys, and turned around and picked up my bag. Maybe 5 steps away. But when I was leaving there, I saw a sign that says, this property is protected by pit bulls and pistols. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right? Pit bulls and pistols. Well, those people, if you told them we were under attack by China or North Korea here in this town, they would be some of the first ones out there to fight.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the fact that their computer in their house is under attack by North Korea or China, you can't get them to understand it. But it is. Your computer could be used to attack the United States if you're not protecting it from those people.
Yeah.
People don't get it. Pit bulls and pistols will not help unless you just shoot the computer and let the pit bulls tear it apart, which I know you do.
I have been known to shoot computers.
Literally. Yeah. But the bottom line is that's how important it is to get this message out. And their tips for infrastructure professionals were great. And they tied back really to everything else. Mm-hmm. I love, when in doubt, throw it out.
Yeah.
You don't have to open that email attachment. You don't.
But I needed to open it to see.
No. Lock down your login. We already covered. And then I love this line. Safer for me, more secure for all.
Mm-hmm.
There's such nice things in here. And then the AC/DC piece. Keep a clean machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of good stuff in those.
Sure. And a clean machine will be a faster machine.
Yeah, it will.
A fast machine has its motor clean. So,
used to, I don't know if, it's easier for individuals to do it nowadays, but as a tech person, usually about once a year, we would just erase everything on our machine, reinstall Windows, put everything back. Of course, it was an all-day thing, but we did that. I still do that. It's just a good way to kind of clean out everything, make sure there's nothing hanging around. Nowadays, it's easier for anybody to do it. You just go into your Windows settings and say, hey, do a refresh install or whatever it's called. And it goes in and does it for you. So, of course, make sure you got good backups when you do that. But it's always easy to clean everything out and get rid of it and start over.
Do it Mr. Robot style. Take the drive out, put it in the microwave.
That's coming on soon, too, isn't it? I think it's time for the next season.
All right. Well, that takes us through the whole month. And going through a whole month for us is obviously taking us through a much longer podcast. But thanks for hanging with us if you made it this far.
Yep.
And maybe we'll have several assistants that can help me get this done right next year. But hopefully you see there's so much information there. And by the way, this week that we're recording this was Health IT Awareness Week, about how IT and healthcare can make patients' lives so much better. And if you want to participate in the next thing that is a specific campaign, January 28th is the International Data Privacy Day.
Oh, international.
International Data Privacy Day.
What?
I know. We should all participate.
Kumbaya. All right, folks, that is our show for today. We appreciate you listening. Remember, share us out on social media, rate this on our podcast app or anywhere else you can find a way to spread the word. Remember, you can also send your questions to us or ideas. And if you have a question, I'm sure Donna will get back to you. But as I say that, I've had people like hit me up with questions and not even send them to Donna. So,
I know, I love it.
you just completely go around the system. Anyway, just remember for Donna and myself that HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.